Hi, it's Vex, and today we want to do the top 10 cards for Commander from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. I know, these names are getting longer and longer. I can't wait to go to Brothers War. Short name, sweet, but Kamigawa Neon Dynasty top 10. But before we get to our top 10, we got to bring in our dice, of course, and we do our honorable mention, which is kind of like a number 11. Our honorable mention this time around is actually very special. They are the lands. I know you can get basic lands from any set. They aren't, rare at all. But the lands, let's put in Wooburg order here, of course, are just so gorgeous. They are the Japanese kanji lands with Japanese words, so they're actually Japanese language lands. So they say Neo JP, which is interesting because I wish they had actually removed these kanjis because Plains has a double kanji. And just have the art, like a Japanese style, full art with, just the mana symbol. That'd be amazing. But, they are what they are. They are gorgeous. These are one of my favorite. Of course, the swamp is my favorite. I know some people think that it is a Badlands or a red-black land, but the swamp is very prevalent on it. It does look really dark. I think maybe in digital it looks redder than it looks black, but here it does look really dark. The mountain is kind of, is not really red at all. It looks like a blue-white land. It looks like a tundra, minus these little red fireballs, but it is a mountain right here. It's unfortunate they didn't move the mountain over here a little bit so you can see it. But anyways, I digress. This is number 11, honorable mention. Love the lands. Wonderful. Let's get down to the real countdown. Again, every set is a Commander set first and whatever set second. Neon Dynasty is Commander set first, Standard set, Limited set second. Always Commander, always, that's just their philosophy, and that's just, it is what it is. So you'll only see very powerful cards for Commanders in these sets, and don't be surprised if they're even more powerful as time goes on. But number 10, let's actually put these here. No, not there. 10 is Mirror Box. Previously in the other Kamigawa block, you have Mirror Gallery that costs 5 and just eliminates the Legend rule, but this is Mirror Box, costs 3. The Legend rule doesn't apply to perms you control, so only one-sided non-legendary rule clause, which is good, so somebody can't clone 2 of their legends. Then each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1. So that's just if they're legendary, +1/+1. Each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. So very good in clone decks. As you remember, I have a Sakashima Vial Smasher deck. This deck would be great there. This card would be insane. Really good in the Sakashima of 1,000 Faces deck as a, it's also a partner. So this is number 10. Number 9. Boom. I remember the dice this time. I always forget, but I remember. Dockside Chef. Mainly, 2 reasons, because the name Dockside. This is the second time they've ever used the word Dockside, and the first Dockside Extortionist, is very good, but Dockside Chef is also very good. 1 mana, 1/2. Good on rate. Enchantment creature, human citizen. So just a regular dude that just makes some ramen, I guess. But the cool part is 1 in a black, sack an artifact or creature, draw a card. So as long as you can sacrifice an artifact or a creature to Dockside Chef, draw a card. This isn't the super most powerful card in this set, but I really like it because A, the name is cool, the ability is very good, and you can get it down very early, and it has a very relevant creature type in human. And it's good at Aristocrats theme. Let's go to number 8. The Reality Chip right here. Almost forgot the dice, almost. Reality Chip says, 1 in blue. Legendary creature, equipment jellyfish. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. I love that new text. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as the Reality Chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells on the top of your library. And it also has reconfigure 2 in a blue. Attach a target creature you control or unattached from a creature. Reconfigure only as sorcery, while attached just isn't a creature. So it's basically equipment when it's attached, and a creature when it's not attached. It's a really cool card. It's like a future sight that can, you go down early for 2 mana, can block some nasty commanders, and then can just be attached maybe to a Dockside Chef for 2 and a blue, and then you get to play the top card of your library is now an extra card in your hand, And if you play a land from this, then you can play the next card, next card, next card. So it gets really powerful. All right. Number 7. Reckoner Bank Buster. Now, this top 10 is my top 10. And sometimes power level does, highly affect the top 10. But sometimes it's just fun. And it's also a cool name. I really like vehicles. And I really like vehicles that are named Reckoner Bank Buster because it's trying to bust through a bank. And it seems super fun. It's kind of like a Maze Mind Tome, but it's 2 generic artifact vehicle. Reckoner Bank Buster enters the battlefield 3 charge counters on it. So like Maze Mind Tome, but it only has 3 instead of 4. Then you pay 2, tap, remove a charge counter, draw a card. Okay, that's not that bad. 2 investment. You can crew 3 it whenever, but it has more than if there are no charge counters on Reckoner Bank Buster. Create a treasure token and a 1/1 colorless pilot token with this creature crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So it could crew like the Bank Buster itself. So the cool part is pay 2, pay another 2, draw a card, pay another 2, draw a card, pay last 2, remove the counter, draw a card. Like after you've done it 3 times, you can't do it anymore unless you put more counters on it. Create a treasure, a pilot. The pilot can actually immediately crew the Bank Buster even though the Bank Buster's tapped. Or you can just play it as a 2 and have a 3-power creature or 1 pilot, just crew the Bank Buster and tap. So I think it's very versatile. I think it's really good. And I love the flavor of it. Sometimes you got to enjoy the cards for what they are. All right, number 6. Boom. Weaver of Harmony. On in green, let's actually read this. Enchantment creature, Snake Druid, so heavy enchantment theme in Kamigawa. Other enchantment creatures you control get +1/+1. So that's pretty cool. If you have Dockside Chef and Weaver of Harmony, it buffs your enchantment creatures. So that's one good thing. But the important thing is green, tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control from enchantment source. You may choose new targets for a copy. That's really good. Let's say hypothetically your enchantment produces a 4/4 angel, like Shrine of the Empty Throne or whatever it's called, Sigil of the Empty Throne, and then you could be like, oh, let me just copy that, produce 2 4/4 angels. That's great. Or brand new commander Goshen Tai produces triggered ability, produces a shrine. Copy it, produce another shrine. So that's really cool. Or Carpet of Flowers, copy that ability, produce more mana. Very versatile. I really like this card. I think it's really good. All right, let's go to the top 5. This is getting the spicy section, the power section. Right here, Kodama of the West Tree. Now, if you read it, it reads like an absolute crazy ramp card. Let's actually read it. This is the last Kodama they were missing, so they finally printed it. 2 in green. Legendary creature Spirit, just like all the other Kodamas. Reach. Modified creatures you control have trample. So equipment auras and counters are modifications. And it's only auras you control, so you gotta be careful. If somebody puts an aura on Kodama, it's not considered a modified creature, which is kind of weird. I know it's very weird in the rules text, but it is what it is. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card, put it in the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So this is really going into the 99 of a lot of decks. Can be your commander, can play a lot of Hydras, because Hydras are modified creatures, essentially with a +1/+1 counters. But what I like about it is it ramps hard, right? You attack, it ramps hard, but it ramps basic lands, which means I know a lot of people are starting to cut basic lands, and we'll get into that with more of our top 10. But this one, I love cards that incentivizes you to play basic lands because people are just poo-pooing on basic lands, even though they're gorgeous right here. Speaking of gorgeous, let's put the swamp on top. We love the swamp more. People poo-poo on basic lands like, oh, no, this is better than basic. Let's just swap a basic for this dual land. This dual land is so much better. I love cards that incentivize you to play basic lands, and this one ramps really hard as long as you have modified creatures, and definitely recommend this in a Hydra deck. Number 4, Jin Gitaxias. Now, the other Jin Gitaxias costs like 1,000,000 mana. This one costs 7, way more castable than the other Jin Gitaxias, and just as salty, of course. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor costs 5 blue. Jin Gitaxias Progress Tyrant. I know I said it all out of order, but you know what I mean. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. Again, doubling. Wizards is now just always pumping out these cards at double, but people love it. You may choose new targets for a copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. So that's a new technology they're using. Is this ability only triggers once each turn. And then a copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. Now, that doesn't affect like Doubling Season where it doubles a token. It only creates 1 token because it's not an effect. It's just a spell that created a token. So just remember that. It doubles your stuff, instant artifacts or sorceries. And then this is the cool part. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, so if they play a swords to kill Jin-Gitaxias, countered. Another player has to play a swords, or the same player has to play another removal spell against Jin-Gitaxias. And remember, also, it's an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell. So if somebody plays a Soul Ring, it gets countered. It's like that. And they're also using this new technology. It says this ability triggers only once each turn, which I really like. I think because of this, you can put very powerful triggers or abilities on creatures, and you don't have to worry about being abused, triggering once each turn. I think if this didn't trigger, if this says an opponent casts their first artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, each turn counter that spell, that'd be much, much more painful, because each opponent would have to cast a spell and get countered to make another spell resolve. But here, one opponent can cast a spell, the next get countered, then the next opponent can cast a spell, and this would resolve. So that's how you would kill Jin-Gitaxias. You kind of have to work together politically to make it work. All right, number 3. I love this card. This card should be my number 1, but there's so much more powerful cards. So Lion's Sash. As you see here in lots of my videos, I always say have graveyard hate. Have at least one piece of graveyard hate. I think nowadays I need to, after Kamigawa, I've done my decks and stuff, and they have Lion Sash when it's white, but not Lion Sash when it's not white, of course, right? That's how Commander works, but have one piece. But I think I need to increase my deck to at least 2 pieces, maybe 3 pieces of graveyard hate per deck, because every deck is using a graveyard, every single deck. Every time I watch videos, every time I play games, every time I see deck lists, they just all abuse the graveyard. That's why this Lion Sash is so important. It's I feel like this is a staple in my white Commander decks now. One in a white. Let's actually read it after I talked about how graveyard hated it is. Let's read how it affects the graveyard. 1 in white, artifact, creature, equipment, cat. Same as the reality chip. 1 white, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. It just grows, starts at 1/1. A crypt creature gets a +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Now, if you cast Lion Sash, it's got to reconfigure too. If you cast Lion Sash right here, you equip it on Jin-Gitaxias, it doesn't get any bonus because it doesn't have any counters on it. So if you remove one thing, Lion Sash gets a counter, becomes a 2/2. But when you equip it, it gets +1/+1 for the number of counters. So just remember that. It's very, very good graveyard hate. I really love it. I love Scavenging Ooze. Now I'm going to love Lion Sash more. And the cool part is you can reconfigure, so you can equip Lion Sash for 2 generic onto anything. It'll survive a board wipe, fall right off, become a creature, and then continue exiling cards from graveyards. Now, I know this is a slow exile, but sometimes, having some graveyard hate is better than having no graveyard hate. All right, number 2. Number 2 is a cycle. Of course, you guessed it, is a cycle of lands. I'll go from worst to best, I believe. Sokenzin, Crucible of Defiance. They all are legendary lands that add a color of their type, but they have channel ability. You discard it, and then this one is you discard this card, create 2 1/1 color spirit creature tokens. They gain haste until end of turn. Not bad, not that great. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Usually you have your commander discounts by 1, maybe another legendary discounts by 2, so it's 1 in red, make 2 dudes with haste. Surprise blockers, surprise attackers. I think this is good. This is not the best, but it's good. Next one, the next worst, I guess you should say. Takanuma, Abandoned Mire. Mills 3 cards and return a creature card. Creature or planeswalker card from graveyard to hand. 3 in a black. Again, it will get the discounts if you have legendary creatures. That's why I'm not going to repeat that same clause. It's essentially the same. Third one, Iganjo, Seat of the Empire. Another white Iganjo. Comes in untapped. That's why people are saying, these are better than basic land. Why would you play basic land when you have these? Well, you do have creatures like Kadama. And I tell you what, Blood Moon exists, Back to Basics exists, Ruination exists, lots of things exist. So you always need basics. I think people are not running enough, but we'll get into that in another video. Iganjo, 2 in a white, deals 4 damage to the target attacking or blocking creature, so you can blow somebody out. Now, these abilities are uncounterable because they're abilities, not spells, unless you have a Stifle or Trick Bind or something like that. All right, that's the third best one. This is second best, Ottawa Soaring City. 3 in a blue, return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. This, again, can cost much less. They have more legendary creatures, and you can bounce enchantments like Urza Saga. So just remember that. Or artifacts like Artifact Lands. So as long as it has an artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalk on it, then you can bounce it. I think it's really good tempo play. Again, if you're flooded, just keep this in your hand and play it as a spell. Most of the time, I recommend playing it as a land because the more mana you have, the more spells you can cast per turn. Of course, number one land, to no one's surprise, Boseiju Who Endures. That is right. We'll add 1 green. 1 in a green. Costs very little. It could cost just one green if you have 1 legendary creature. Discard Boseiju. Destroy target enchantment. Target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land. And opponent controls that player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type, put it into the battlefield, and shuffle. Battlefield untapped can get you dual lands, shock lands, triomes, whatever. Now, what's good about this is it's very cheap. It could cost 1 in a green or just green, and just gets rid of problematic permanents as an emergency. It's just like Assassin's Trophy. Just gets rid of lots of things. Doesn't get rid of creatures, but just can get rid of problematic lands like Kamigawa coffers and such like that. So, of course, Boseiju, amazing. But the number one card, I think, in this set that changes Commander fundamentally is this card, Farewell. It is so good at what it does. Merciless Eviction is now a dead card. Never play it again. You have Farewell. 4 white. Choose one or more. Exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, and exile all graveyards. It's got Graveyard Hate tacked on. I know it will exile your own graveyard, but this card's insane. This card has changed the fabric of Commander, I believe. Should change how Commander players play, because now you have a white card. If you see someone playing white, you can guess that they have a card called Farewell. And it just not destroys, it exiles all your artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. Not planeswalkers, they survive. But whatever. It is what it is. I know Merciless Eviction did planeswalker, but these, like everything. And now, this is a hard reset. This is just, let's move these aside. It's just so good. It needs its own space, right? You guys don't understand how stapley this card is. I believe, let's see here. I have another white card, Vanquish the Horde, is printed in Midnight Hunt. I believe this is efficient, but there's lots of board wipes. This is not only efficient, it's just devastating. And if you have this in your hand, you can play around the game. It's not even destroyed, it's just exiled. And then you get to choose which ones you want. So if you're the one that has all the cool enchantments, you could just exile all artifacts, creatures, and graveyards. That is what's insane. If this is exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards without letting you choose, this card would be okay. The modal part of this card is so good. So get ready to see this card. Get ready to see this card often. I'm going to put it in a lot of my decks. I do like the alternate art of it. It looks really cool, so I might get more of those, but those are more expensive than these, so we'll see. This is definitely by far the number one card. Above Boseiju. I know some people were like, maybe the lands are number one. I'm like, no. This is such good removal that, hypothetically, let's say if you have a couple minutes, listen to this. You got a Spellslinger deck. You don't really play permanents. You play a lot of spells. Well, bam, Spellslinger deck. Actually, just goes any white deck. What am I talking about? Any white deck should play this card, and it's just as stapley as Swords of Plowshares to me. We'll see. It does come in at 6 mana, but my God, I believe this is just such an impactful card in Commander. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, if you have your own top 10, leave in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be alerted for new videos. Again, I have that TCG Player affiliate link in the description below. And as always, have a wonderful day.